Namco is making some interesting choices with their re-releases for the Famicom Disk System. First they did Xevious, the game that kicked the shoot-'em-up genre away from Space Invaders. And now a few months later, here's Galaga, a game that's really the last word on the Space Invaders style shooter. It's like they're marching backward through time with these games. That was foreshadowing, by the way. Galaga was the sequel to Galaxian, and it was one of Namco's really monster hits in the early 80s. You control a spacecraft at the bottom of the screen, you can move left or right, and you can fire. And that's all the controls. No zipping around the screen to dodge shots for you. At the beginning of every stage, the hostile alien bugs swoop in, flying in formations that you can easily pick apart, or hit at least some of them. Once they take their place in the fleet, then the next wave comes in. And if you just let them go by, eventually they'll fill up the top third of the screen. Naturally, your goal is to shoot down all of the alien bugs. And since alien bugs don't like getting shot down, they'll fire back. They'll also break away from formation, swooping down to attack you more closely. When there's only a few bugs left on the stage, they'll just continually descend. The movement patterns have them come at you and then circle, something that makes them harder to avoid than you might expect. Sometimes, the alien bugs will change shape and come down as a special formation that's worth extra points if you shoot them all down. And then there are the 4 battleships at the top of the screen. They take 2 shots to destroy, and sometimes they'll come down with a bug escort. In a feature taken from Galaxian, which order you shoot them down in determines how many points you get. Destroying the battleship last gets you the most. If the battleship comes down on its own, then it might be trying to catch your ship in a tractor beam. If your ship gets caught in a wave, then it's hauled off to the top of the screen and you've lost a life. Except that captured ship is still there. You can destroy it by shooting down the battleship while it's all the way up there, though that doesn't really help you. Or you can take advantage of Galaga's big feature. When the battleship comes back down, it'll bring your ship with it, and shooting down the battleship then will free the other ship, which will join forces with your new one and let you double your firepower. It's a brilliant bit of risk-reward. You're giving up one of your precious lives, and in exchange, you're becoming much stronger. But at the same time, you've become a much larger target. You can chew through waves of enemies no problem with double shots. But when those enemies get aggressive and are firing as they get close, it's really hard to not have one of those ships get destroyed. Every few stages, there's a bonus stage where the enemies come in, similar to the start of every stage, but here they don't remain, they just fly off again. Extra lives are earned with score. You'll get your first one at 30,000 points. When you run out of those lives, the game will tell you how accurate you've been, though you don't really get anything for being especially accurate. Just bragging rights. The original Famicom release of Galaga is pretty well regarded in Japan, and that's exactly what you get here on the Disk System, just with the copyright date updated. This is winding up being a really short video, even for one of these re-release rehashes, because Galaga is a pretty simple game. It's a wonderfully, elegantly simple game. That capture and recovery mechanic is brilliant. And I think it's the best of the games in that first wave that were copying Space Invaders. Galaga is taking the concept of a spaceship at the bottom of the screen and aliens in formation at the top about as far as it can reasonably go. Okay, eventually people will take it further, but it's going to take them a few years before they're ready for that. Galaga is one of those games that's going to endure because anybody can just pick it up and play it. And the Famicom port is pretty much arcade perfect. You've lost a little bit of color and resolution, the sound effects aren't quite as sharp, but the feel and action is exactly right. Of course, I can't really recommend the Famicom Disk System version. That's mainly because the original cartridge is a lot more available and a lot cheaper.